Hello, it's Elizabeth here. This is a video I'm making especially for another person on Instagram called Beyond the Dressing Table, Michelle. This one's for you. I'm 54, I'm postmenopausal, and the kind of language that you're using in your videos talking about being in perimenopause and the sweat is language that I recognise. It's not a laughing matter at all, is it? It's horrific. I just sent up a message on one of your posts saying that as a massage therapist, when I was in the throes of perimenopause, not knowing that menopause even had a support act, I would spend a lot of my time making sure that my clients were face down for a majority of their treatment so that they couldn't see my hair sticking to my forehead. It was horrific. For me, it was the psychological impact of perimenopause that turned up long before the physiological side of it. So it started off 42, 43 with a crushing lack of confidence, not knowing how to dress, massive external checks all the time, couldn't make a decision to save my life. I've recently thanked a lot of people who are my friends, who are still my friends, that supported me through that, because it's no laughing matter at all. Menopause and perimenopause can make people lose friends, lose themselves, and sometimes lose very valued partnerships, and sometimes lose their jobs if they're not coping. So here are my top 5, I think. I might go beyond that, but I'm going to say top 5 things to do if you recognise any of the symptoms that are being spoken about with regards to menopause and perimenopause and the psychological impact that can creep up on you and you don't know what's going on. Number 1 is always reduce your stress. Now, for me, external stress was causing internal stress. So the more organised I am, the less stressed I am. How do you feel when you walk in the front door of your house? That's a really odd one, I know, isn't it? But walk in the front door of your home, and does it make you feel, I'm home? Or does it go, oh God? You know, what does it feel like? How can you sort that out so when you go home, it really is your safe space and it really is, a place for you to switch off and go, oh, I'm going to decompress now. Now, I don't live with anybody else, so I'm only tidying up after myself. But if you live with people that you have to tidy up after them, maybe there needs to be a staff meeting. Just saying. Number 2, here's the big one. You will have food and drink triggers that make this a whole lot worse. Now, the way I found this out was from reading blog posts by a bodybuilder who spoke about, and now she was a bikini competitor, which means that they train, they go up on stage, they show off their physiques looking fabulous. But part of the process of showing off the muscle was to drop carbohydrates and then all of a sudden double carb. Now, this is a process I'm not familiar with because I've never done that kind of bodybuilding before or training. But double carbing makes people sweat. And I thought, hang on a minute, whoa. And that's when I made a link. And that is, this was about 7 or 8 years ago. I discovered this. It's very well known now that certain food groups can just make you go poof, and you're just absolutely dripping with sweat. For me, it was anything that gives me an insulin spike. Again, loads of studies around this now about this phenomena. For me, it was white bread, white pasta, anything carbohydrate that then turns to sugar. And then, of course, sugar itself, and let's not even think about the whole binge eating side of menopause. Okay, that'll be number 3, binge eating. But figure out what you eat and what you drink that makes you feel utterly crap afterwards. So for me, love a cup of tea. Unfortunately, have a cup of tea, power surge. Now, I only get power surges these days. I'm not getting the full-on hair sticking to my forehead anymore. But yeah, you've just mentioned it in a video that you've just done where you've got all these lovely jumpers and cozy jackets and you can't wear them because you don't know when your temperature is going to spike. I get that. So for me, it's all layers, light layers, but I have had to give away all my lovely woolly jumpers, and anything with a turtleneck, forget it. You know, any tight jumpers, you'll never see me in one of those anymore. Light sweatshirt layers, lovely. But yes, and also taking your baths or showers too hot, that's another thing as well that can make you sweat. But food or drink triggers. Coffee, for some reason, is absolutely fine. So is it the tannin in the tea that's making me do it? I think it is. But then again, white wine, and again, wheat, because there's wheat in white wine sometimes, and Prosecco as well. Prosecco can make me just go, and it used to be a lot worse, but thankfully not as bad anymore, as I said, because all I deal with now are the power surges. So number 3 is definitely, this is the most horrible thing you can ever say to a person. I wish somebody had told me when I hit 40 what your portion size is, because I have only in the last 6 months managed to tackle binge eating. Binge eating, because what happens is there are 2 main hormones that regulate your appetite. One is leptin and one is ghrelin. Leptin tells you to stop eating, you're sated, you've had enough. Ghrelin is the one that makes you go Oreo cookies, ice cream, Belgian buns from Greggs, talking from experience. What happens in perimenopause is that very slowly leptin goes on holiday and leaves the other one in charge. So you have a 3-course meal and then you're like Oreo cookies, Kit Kats. And the thing is, you can't just stop at one, because food companies, as has now been spoken about wildly, look for this bliss point to make you crave and crave and crave and crave and crave. And that's exactly what I fell for. So now I have got to keep an eye on the binge eating monster, because if I'm stressed, I binge eat. It just plays tricks on your brain. It really, really does. But here's the other one as well. Number 4, okay, be kind to yourself. Do not think that beating yourself up at the gym doing body pump is going to do you any good whatsoever, because it's going to make you more stressed, which makes things a whole lot worse. So this was my big sister that pointed this out to me. Pilates and yoga for the win. That's number 4. Can I think of number 5? A really obvious one. No, I'll stop there. I think I've covered everything. Oh, yes. Make your bedroom an absolute oasis. You know, sleep with the window open if you can. Clear everything away from your bedside table. Make sure that your bedroom doesn't look like the Starship Enterprise when you turn your lights off at night and you've got things on charge all over the place flashing. And just get really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Menopausal brain fog. Get really protective about your sleep pattern. Absolutely. And don't beat yourself up if you don't sleep very well. This was another thing, right? For me, the most horrific sweats came at night, where I actually developed a party trick of the sweat would start at my ankles and work its way up until my scalp was on fire. So what I would do is I would be lying in bed all comfy and I would be like, oh no, it started, and I'd be willing it to try not to do it. But what I would have to do is jump out of bed before it started, so that I didn't have to change my bed sheets all the time. I only had to change my pajamas and maybe wash my face. That's the reality of what a lot of women like me were handling. Now, the thing is, nobody's got the same recipe. What works for one person works for another. What happened to me isn't another friend of mine's story who's never had any menopausal symptoms at all and just apparently sailed through it. I've got another friend who's the same age as me who still gets her cycle and she's nowhere near menopause. So, you know, and my period stopped when I was 47. So, yeah. Be kind to yourself. It's the kindness that needs to come out of all of this, because as women, we're constantly beating ourselves up, I feel. We always feel we're not doing good enough. And if you're watching this, get in touch with me if I can be of any help, signposting you to help. I'm a menopause coach myself. I do have a course on my website if you wish to have a peek. It's 45 minutes with moi. And I've got a wonderful workbook as well, which is basically like having a podcast in your pocket. And the idea is that you revisit the steps over and over and over until you feel you've got some kind of balance in your life. Anyway, Mika, I hope that this video finds you well, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I am really enjoying the fact that you've got such a big following and you're getting this message out to women, because it doesn't matter how many programs get made about menopause, we're still not getting the decision makers up there making decisions about women getting the information that they need when they hit 40. And it doesn't matter how many times you go and get blood tests done. I went down that rabbit hole of thinking I needed to get tested for this and to get tested for that. One day I can have the hormones of a teenager, and the next day they have completely depleted, and there is no rhyme or reason, and there's no barometer, there's no way of forecasting it. Who knows how my body responds day to day? Same with my thyroid. So on an NHS scale, there's nothing wrong with my thyroid. But the scale is 1.5 to 4.2. I'm scoring 3.9 for being hypothyroidism, if that's what you call it, yeah. Having a hypothyroid, underactive thyroid, hence the weight gain, hence the pooch on my belly, hence the fact I've got colour in my eyebrows because I've lost the outer 2/3 here. All these kind of indicators. But, you know, I'm not on levothyroxine. Some people have to take it. I haven't been offered it ever. I've never been offered HRT, because every time I go to the doctor, oh, it's just your age, oh, it's just your age. And that's what we're up against. So it doesn't matter how many programs get made, we're not getting the decision makers still taking this seriously. So I'm all for people who've got bigger followings than me taking this on board. So good on you. Keep up the message, and also what you're doing with makeup and everything else and all the skincare advice that you give is also valuable, because for me, my skin craves anything that feels like cream cheese these days. So any cream cheese content for your face, marvellous, I'm on board. But I think it's so important to know as well, because I had a total meltdown when I hit 47. Stopped dyeing my hair, this is all mine. You know, but I used to be brunette, but I just got fed up looking like a skunk every 6 weeks. And it wasn't until I started seeing girls going down Buchanan Street with her hair dyed granny grey, I thought, goodness me, I'm paying 150 quid every 4 weeks not to look like that. So I just went for it. So it's a huge transition. I'm 54 now. I'm postmenopausal. I feel great. That's what they don't tell you. It's such a valuable transition to go through. But when you know better, you do better. And that's the big thing. When you know better, you do better. So let's carry on getting that message out to help as many women as possible stop ugly crying because they don't realise what's happening to them and why, and the simple steps that they can take. 5-minute wins every day, if you're consistent with them, that can help. But I think the big thing is knowing why it's all happening to you, and that it's not your fault, and that you can help yourself, and being kind to yourself as well when you have those down days, and not thinking you've got to beat yourself up and constantly do better, because you're doing great. If you're watching this and you're struggling, get in touch. Bye.